My name's Barry, head gardener here at Cholmondeley Castle in Cheshire. I'd like you to join me on a walk around the garden. We're going to show you all our seasonal highlights. We've got the subtle, we've got the fantastic, we've got lots of colour, lots of texture, the formal and the informal. I think you'll enjoy it. Now this is brunner macrophylla hadspin cream, which is a really popular variety of brunner. Brunner are sometimes known as the perennial forget-me-not, and you can easily see why. It's got typical forget-me-not type flowers, nice and frothy above the canopy of foliage, and it really good grower in all gardens really, whether you've got a slightly drier aspect or slightly damper soil. It seems to thrive in any situation really, and flowers over a long period of time. This is probably about 4 weeks in. We've still got quite a lot of flowers to come, and it just extends that season of interest, which is what the springtime is all about. Now, one group of plants that absolutely loves the soil and the climate that we've got here at Cholmondeley are tree peonies. And all they really need is protection from a cold wind and a soil that isn't too heavy and contains too much water during the winter months. These are all Japanese tree peonies that we've got along Lavinia Walk, and this is an excellent one. This is called Duchess of Kent, which has huge heads, as you can see, that open up like individual petals of tissue paper. Absolutely wonderful. But the great thing with tree peonies as well, because the flowers can be short-lived, is the foliage. And that texture of foliage, and it complements a wide range of plant types for me. It's really good in the mixed shrub border, really good as we got them here in the herbaceous borders, and also a good foil for things like camellias, like rhododendrons, like bamboos. They're wonderfully versatile plants, absolutely super. Now, another one of my favourite perennials for any garden is here in the glade. This is geranium mackerism. It's got really nice sort of delicate foliage, really nice tactile stuff that's nicely scented, and it's got a really long season of interest. These beautiful white flowers which pollinators, including bees, absolutely love, but also after they've gone, you're left with these nice sort of red flushed seed pods, or what will be the seed pods later on as well. And it's also got really good autumn leaf colour, again, which is superb. So it gives you a really long season, this particular plant, and it's one of these superheroes that's really good for dry shade, and not all plants are, and that we get asked about dry shade an awful lot in gardening, and geranium mackerism is an absolute winner. We've got a big collection of ferns down in the folly garden. It's the perfect setting for them. And one thing that we do really well down here, because it's a slightly sheltered climate, is tree ferns. And this is Dicksonia antarctica, which is a native of New Zealand, and it's a superb thing. Now, they're not always fully hardy. They do need a little bit of protection around the crown during the winter months, and we tend to do that only if we've got prolonged periods of cold or snow forecast. But really, they're quite an architectural plant, really big fronds. This is still quite early in the season. We've cut last year's off because they've not come through the winter looking particularly attractive, and this is all growth of the last few weeks, would you believe? So really architectural plant, quite statuesque. We've got them lining the path up the cascade here, and they're absolutely wonderful, and well worth a bit of patience. Down in the folly garden is the perfect sort of woodlandy setting for rhododendrons, and this is a big old hybrid. Now, you do need space for some of the larger flowering hybrids, but if you've got the room at home, they are well worth it. This is a lightly scented one. Now, I'm afraid we don't know the name of this particular variety. It's escaped our identification at the present, but it's got really good form. Despite its size, it's quite compact, beautiful soft pink trusses which will go on for quite a long time. As with all rhododendrons, the pollinators love them, be they flies, bees, hoverflies, absolutely adore them. Rhododendrons do have a really long flowering period generally within themselves, but you can have rhodos in flower for 8 months at a time across the garden, and fortunately we've got the space to be able to do it. Now, a plant that we get asked about a lot from visitors here is this one, which is Gunner manicarta. It looks like a giant rhubarb, and that's essentially sort of what it is. It's a native of Brazil, but it is quite hardy. We do cut the leaves off at the end of each year just to protect the crown from any excess moisture through the winter, which it tends to not like, but other than that, given full sun, it's fairly trouble-free. So we cut it all down completely at the end of each year. So this is really only a couple of months worth of growth on this. By the end of the season, it will get twice as big as me. If you're sheltering, if you're in a garden which is a bit more sheltered, then it will get even bigger than that. The flower spikes emerge at the same time as the leaves, which is a really interesting and quirky feature, just producing a bit of pollen there now. But it's just in every way a plant from another time, isn't it? You can imagine it in Jurassic Park. It's a brilliant plant, really quirky, very statuesque. One of the specialities of Cholmondeley, as well as rhododendrons and camellias, is magnolias. And this is lenii, which is a really good late flowering one. It will usually start towards the end of April, and then it will go on for quite some weeks, probably 6 or 7 weeks, and then it will throw out flowers later on into the summer as well, albeit on a much smaller scale than this. It's really easy to grow. Because it flowers late, it's less susceptible to weather damage like a lot of earlier magnolias, but one of the key things to it is that fragrance, which smells like a peach Melba yoghurt. It's absolutely amazing. Now, one of the joys of any garden, sort of end of May into June, is laburnum, and you'll see them commonly trained over arches, but they make a really impactful tree as a specimen, and we've got quite a nice grove of about a dozen down here at Cholmondeley, and they flower over a long period of time, characterised by this beautiful pendant yellow flowers which hang down a bit like wisteria does, nicely scented. The pollinators love them. You might be able to hear the bees buzzing away behind me, but they are wonderful trees. They do need a little bit of wind protection, but other than that, relatively trouble-free. Thanks for joining me today, folks. Do check out our website at cholmondeleycastle.co.uk and our social media channels for all our upcoming events, and of course the gardens, which are set to be spectacular throughout the rest of the year. We can't wait to see you with us.